Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome on behalf of SCORE Rhode Island. My name is Deborah Panulo, and I am the chapter chair and a certified business mentor. SCORE, as many of you know, is a nationwide volunteer organization whose only mission is to foster the small business community. Here in Rhode Island, we have approximately 50 volunteers who come from every industry that you can think of and all disciplines. So no matter what your needs are for mentoring, we will have someone available to you that we can match your needs to their skills. SCORE also provides training like today, which we're excited about, and a full database online of all of templates and resources and recordings that you can access nationally. So you can go on to ri.score.org and you can literally look up any topic, and there should be, again, a blog, a template, or training material nationwide that can help you. But we really do hope that you go to our website and take advantage of everything we have to offer. So this morning, I'm happy to introduce John Palumbo, but I do want to make a couple of housekeeping announcements. Because we have such a large group of registrants, 230, we had to disable the Q&A session, and we're going to rely on the chat box. And so with that, we will monitor it, and we will try to come up with groups of questions that are similar, and John will address those. We cannot continue to address questions throughout his presentation because when you see the agenda, you'll realize that 90 minutes is clearly not enough. I said to John, we could take this to a full day workshop. And that may be something we talk about in the future because there's so much material. But John has built into his presentation points where he wants you to add to the chat box so that he can collect your answers. So without further ado, I'd like to tell you that John is here with us. He is the owner and founder of Winning Edge Selling, located right here in East Providence. John has over 20 years experience in sales training and consulting, and his firm is known to be one of the leaders in New England of supplying these services. So I couldn't be more excited to have John volunteer to be with us here today. He has helped more than 200 clients in more than 20 industries. And what's really wonderful about John is he too is a small business owner. So he knows firsthand the challenges that we all face when it comes to selling. And he'll tell you a little bit about himself and his background, perhaps, but I am very, very excited again, not only for the content, but to have John offer this training to us today. So I don't want to take too much of his time. I'd like to introduce to you John Palumbo.
Deborah, thank you very much, and thank you for the gracious and generous introduction. So, hey, welcome aboard, everybody who's here so far. I really appreciate you investing your time and energy into today's program. And so I can remember back in February when I was contacted by Deborah and SCORE, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work on their behalf with their SCORE business owner, small business owner community, and say, hey, marketing has done so much for small business, yet at the same time, the sales piece is missing. And there's a constant increase in marketing expense and marketing options. And I think we need to level the playing field today. So, we really kind of went back and forth on the title. And more marketing is not the answer to growing sales. Don't take that too literally. You can keep marketing. What we do with the marketing leads and what we can do on the sales side, whether you're a salesperson or not, whether you have any experience or not, and typically in small business, the owner doesn't come from sales. They're an expert at something else that started a business. It might have been last month. It might have been 10 years ago. And they figure it out. So I'd like to share a few things today. I hope everybody can get something. If you're brand new, please try and get the big picture of what we're looking for today, what we're trying to share today. This is not a presentation. This is a training program. So we're going to have some fun. It should be a little bit I think dynamic and entertaining as we go through it. But I'm going to ask for a lot of it participation. You're going to be putting things into the chat box. And I really appreciate everybody engaging and participating in that part of things. So as a fellow small business owner, I do get it. We've got a lot on our desk, and sales might not be the favorite thing you want to do. So think about it. You've got inventory, you've got services, you've got accounting, you've got IT. Sometimes it can feel like a lot. And that reminds me, of life on the Serengeti. One of my old sales managers told me this many, many, many moons ago that, being a salesperson or being a small business owner, it's tough, but it's not this tough. And if you think about it, and some of you may have heard this story before, but every morning on the Serengeti on the plains, all the animals wake up at the same time. And that's a matter of survival. So think about it. The slowest lion has to be faster than the slowest gazelle, or it's going to grow weak, starve, get sick, and get eaten by hyenas. At the same time, the slowest gazelle has to be faster than the slowest lion, or they're going to have a big problem too. And that goes for all the animals. And so the lesson of that story is every day in our small business, we just got to get up and go. First thing in the morning, let's go, every aspect of our business. And so it's a lot like being a small business owner. So here's your first chance. You don't have to be a lion. You don't have to be a gazelle. Always love this when somebody gives me a hyena or a warthog or something like that. But what kind of animal in the business world are you? I'm going to build today's program so that it's really going to apply to everybody. So fire away just to have some fun and get everybody loosened up. The bull, elephant, I love it. Birds and giraffes, perfect.
Someone said turtle, John. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, that's a good one too. All right, terrific. So hopefully everybody's loose, everybody's getting things going. So we got to talk about the problems with relying on marketing and more marketing to grow your business. The first thing is there's no guarantee that marketing is going to work. And this is not a new problem. So for some of you who've either had your business a long time or you've been in a career of different types for a long time, businesses would send out direct mail and they would have industry numbers and say, hey, we can't guarantee anything, but we typically expect about a 1% statistical return to new customers. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. Well, business owners tend to work on revenue and expenses. And, if we're going to buy a machine, we're going to buy inventory, we're going to hire people, we want to know what the ROI is. Well, sometimes it can be very hard to figure out ROI on marketing when you put your website up, when you're buying, when you're boosting ads, and I'm going to expand, today's program to not just digital marketing. And I know a lot of you are probably neck deep in digital marketing, but obviously there's a place for traditional marketing also. But it can be very, very hard to guarantee ROI. Most of you as small business owners, you look at your P&Ls and you know what your expenses are, whether it's monthly and you're looking at the checkbook, or whether it's, annually and you're looking at your P&Ls, always goes up. Always goes up. Something that, when I talk to marketing experts, one of the things that is a positive and a negative in their world that they try and guide clients with, there has never been more new options for marketing at any point in history. And the marketing folks call that noise. Should I be on TikTok? Should I have a podcast? Should I be boosting ads? Should I have Facebook ads? If you're a small business, whether you're doing 100,000 in revenue or 1 million or 2 million or 5 million in revenue, you still only have limited resources to fit your business. And so how do you use what's working? We know there's diminishing returns. And then how do we put money into new things and risk those investments? And, wrapping it all up is there's no guarantee of lead generation. I've got manufacturing companies that will, you know, their association will put out a program and let them buy LinkedIn boosted ads or Facebook boosted ads, and they'll do a $10,000 test campaign and go 0 for $10,000. Or they'll go 9 for, you know, they'll get 9 leads and none of the leads are really qualified for one reason or another. So we've got to look at these things. Why am I getting into this? Some of you are probably a little bit hooked on marketing. Some of you are like listening today, but very, very skeptical. And so, as I mentioned, not looking to take marketing away, but really looking at how you can turn selling, how you can connect selling to marketing better, and some of the other things on the sales side that you may not know about, or you might be a little scared about, you know, a little tentative to do. And I think we can help you a lot with that. So one of the myths, problems with lead generation from marketing is leads don't automatically equal sales. I'm going to guess some of you get a ton of leads. How's conversion? I'm going to bet it's different in every case. We get some that are disqualified because they're too big, too small, they're not geographically qualified to your business. We also know that you get reduced leads over time. So if you're going to run Facebook ads, you might get a big pop for a month, and then you run them again next month at double the price. And all of a sudden the leads are cut in half. And that turns into the spend more to get more leads trap. And that gets very painful when you're running a small business. You know, until you hit that $20 million in revenue mark and you really have a big cushion that you can spend a lot of money on a lot of things, and they don't all have to work, that's a trap for a lot of people. So we're going to get back to the chat box. And when it comes to your current marketing, what's your biggest problem, biggest challenge in investing in more marketing for your business? Okay, so the softball ant, there we go. Ad budget, limited budget, converting leads into sales, having time to chase down the leads. Somebody's going to type in not comfortable calling on the leads. Somebody might say, hey, we email them back and they don't engage. So yeah, you know, I think one of the good things, I'm not real negative, but I'm very cynical. And so we got to find out how to do it. And so all of these issues, the great thing is you can work on solutions, you can make incremental progress and start to really think about, well, if not this, how about that? How do we fix the problem? So here we go. We got lots of good answers now. And you know, knowing that there's a lot of different types of people in this program today, we probably have a lot of professionals, professional services, maybe some people with small technology companies, probably some folks with trade services, maybe some people in retail, maybe some people who have an e-commerce model. We're going to give you examples across the board, across industries. And so, all right, so there's an interesting comment from an attendee that they can't see everybody's chats. They can only see their chats. So I don't know if that's something we can jump on or not. I'm going to keep reading some of them. We can't, you know, we might get 100 chats in the chat box when I ask these questions. So I'll kind of highlight them for you. Somebody did ask a while back, hey, will you be able to get a copy of today's program handout? And Deborah, I believe you said yes, you're going to forward the package.
Yes, everyone will get a copy of the handout and the recording.
So don't worry about taking 56 pages of notes, just maybe a page or two of the things that really apply to you. So let's talk about more marketing is not the answer to growing sales. It's time to change the focus from marketing and hoping sales go up to getting better at selling, getting better at connecting the lead generation from marketing into making sales go up. So when we look at this, we got to kind of get into your core problems. And, you know, something that people don't really talk about. You know, they've got some thoughts about selling that, oh, they're a natural, or oh, they've been through 20 years experience. And it all still comes back to some wavelength of being comfortable in a selling role. So the number one problem we have with small business owners that I've seen for over 20 years is they're not comfortable. You know, if you're a technology person doing websites and digital tools, if you're a CPA, maybe you're in the trades, maybe you've got a tree removal services company, maybe you run an HVAC company. Um, you're just not comfortable. You're an expert at something else. Maybe it doesn't really suit your personality, or maybe suit kind of some of your life experience, but we're going to work on that today. I'm going to give you some real rules to follow that have like conceptual value, because we think what we think based on where we are in life until we have another reason to. And I may be able to give you some reasons today that make more sense today about how you could be more comfortable in a role. Number two is an easy one. Don't know how to sell. And so, you know, whether it's my company or other companies, there are plenty of sales training programs available. And yet the number of business owners that engage in sales training or who take the time to have to train their own people is single digits. So I want you to think about that. Don't know how to sell? You're going to get a crash course today in personal, professional, consultative selling. And it will be a crash course. And some of you will say, gee, I like the way that's structured and laid out. And some of you will look at that and go, wow, that might be something I need to learn more about. Number three is human relations issues. Hey, we're dealing with people. People are tough. You know, some way, shape, or form, we just have no idea what we're going to run into, whether it's us, what we're thinking about that day, or how we're kind of going at this new sales paradigm, or what's going on in their world and what they're bringing to the opportunity. So number four is a little different than number two, and this is having a repeatable sales approach, which is as simple as having a beginning, a middle, and an end, and kind of a set of guidelines for, hey, this is how I do it, how this is how I don't do it. Number five is, you know, low sales skills. So you could know how to sell. Maybe you've been through training. Maybe you've been through some really old-fashioned training that maybe doesn't fit anymore. Or maybe you even like selling, but you really just don't have any updated skills, tactics, or techniques. And then number six, there's probably some people who would like to get more effective at closing new business, and they're not scared of that word closing. And that means that at the point where you've done a presentation and you've offered them the opportunity to buy, you're looking for a yes or no answer. And there's other folks who, you know, that might be far off in the future, where, you know, you're just not going to be comfortable enough to ask for the business. And we're going to get into some of that as we go. But if we can give you a very simple process that sets up for a very comfortable yes, or an even more comfortable no, it's going to be okay. So time to get back in the chat box. What's your biggest challenge in sales? Probably something off that list, 1 through 6, or it might be something different. Thank you, Mark, for going first, picking up the phone. Christine, I don't know what I'm doing. Gina, getting people to respond. I'm going to read a lot of these. Comfort and knowing how, getting things started, not comfortable. Hey, Sally said it feels gross. I love that honesty. Thanks for sharing that. I think I'm going to be able to help you with that more than a little today. Selling on price, getting leads, rejection. Deborah, this is one of the few chat boxes we're just going to let scroll for a minute.
Oh, I agree. It's
Not being
very,
pushy. yeah, maybe okay to be assertive, but not aggressive and pushy, 100%. Oh, slimy car salespeople. Again, I don't know if you guys can see everybody else's response, but because somebody brought that up, I'm going to keep going here. Figuring out the real value of my product. Sirkan, if I'm saying that right, we're going to cover that today. Getting the first conversation. Hey, those are great. Those are great. I bet we cover 90% of those today. So appreciate everybody participating in that one. So let's break these down a little bit. Not comfortable in the role. I don't know. I'm not comfortable because I don't know how to sell. I don't like salespeople and the connotation stereotype of salespeople. And because of that, I don't want to be viewed as a salesperson. So, if we had a smaller group, I'd be asking everybody to use the raise your hand function and, feel free to raise your hand. We can't see you, but there's probably a lot of folks who are uncomfortable because of that. Um, there's also some other things. There's conceptual things. There's fear of rejection. Okay. There's a need for approval where you want to be liked and you want the folks who buy from you to be your friends. And so those are some of the things that attribute to that. And it's really in your head. And I'm hoping to give you some things today to get that out of your head and get you comfortable. That the sales role is a process. And so I don't like doing accounting, but I had to learn the process because my accountant needs things from me to do my returns. And so I had all kinds of what we call, when it's in your head, we call it mind trash. Things we think that don't help, things we want to avoid because I'd rather do something else. And so we're going to drill down on that a little bit, but we're going to work on that comfort level stuff. Don't know how to sell, never had sales training, no sales process, and just wing it. Well, don't feel bad because I still find companies that hire me where they've never had any formal sales training. And it just is what it is. It doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make them negligent. It's just their current status and reality, and we help them fix that. Um, Human relations issues. I started to touch on this a little bit. Liking people too much. Well, you're going to have a hard time asking kind of the key questions you need to do to understand their situation, get them the best solution, talk about money. Some people were, raised to really not talk about money. Some people were raised to really, you know, not push things forward. Um,
Excuse me, John, may I mention that I don't think your slides are advancing?
oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Okay.
There we go. All right, terrific. And so, yeah, like people too much, don't like engaging with people, take things personally. And we're going to jump into that. Repeatable sales approach. And, one of the reasons there's so many slides here and why we're kind of outlining them and digging into them is because small business owners and people who are learning how to sell need to understand that professional selling is not natural. You're not born with it. It's not something you're just good at. It's not certain personalities know how to do it. It's an area of study. It is a professional practice like bookkeeping and IT. I'm sure all of you have a lot of IT skills as being a business owner, um, managing inventory, things of that nature. So, you know, having a repeatable sales approach. I must say that I do come from sales before I started my business, and that was something I had the benefit and privilege of having training where they taught you the process, the same way they teach you how to hook up a computer network, the same way they teach you to take inventory and to track everything in your financial statements. Um, so that repeatable sales approach um, is a big deal. And if you've never learned that before, or if you learned it on the go, or you learned it from a previous company, We don't know if it's any good. But I'll be honest, a lot of folks just kind of wing it. They start the sale and see where it goes. It's very reactive. And then you end up with a poor start. You end up very reactive, and you typically don't know what's going to happen next. And then as we kind of keep going through challenges, poor selling skills means you end up selling on price because you can't differentiate. And you don't have a way of kind of setting up value to differentiate your service against the marketplace. And since we know that at least 30% of the marketplace is going to be the lowest tier, lowest price, you can't stay in business being lowest price. None of you are going to be Walmart. So we need to sell value. We need to sell all of the things that we do and bring to the table that are worth a little bit more. Quoting too often. A lot of people, just generate quotes. You're asked for something, you generate a quote, you send it over. Not something you want to do too early in your process, and we're going to talk about that today. And then the unpaid consulting. And I don't know if you folks do unpaid consulting, but anytime you give a prospect your expertise, samples, your pricing, your capacity, your availability to deliver, they're trying to figure out what they need to figure that out with. Can they get a better deal from somebody else? Can they do it themselves? If you've outlined everything in your proposal, they might be able to do some of that themselves. So we're going to get rid of that over time. And then not effective at closing. So this is the part that doesn't make you feel good, but getting ghosted by prospects, especially the nice ones. Positive prospects. They come in with a smile, they write a nice email, they give you a lot of information in their lead gen form. You give them your quotes, your samples, whatever it might be. You put your work into the process, and then they disappear. Don't like following up with prospects. Don't know what to say. Don't know if following up too much, too little. Don't know how to effectively follow up. And then don't know how to get repeat sales. And that's something that I know that, in account management in some companies and reorders kind of in smaller companies, and then a lot of the e-commerce businesses, the model's very rigid. You use digital marketing, you get leads, you make sales. We've done a lot of work converting that. So a lot of companies get started in that space, maybe get to 500,000, get to 1.5 million. And then as they watch the repeat orders not come in because SEO guidelines are changing, because ad effectiveness is diminishing, because the attention span of an SEO buyer is a nanosecond. They may have bought from you in the past several times, and then they hit SEO and they see something shiny and it's one of your competitors. They click on them and buy from them. And so what we've been able to do is convert that database into some outside selling. So not waiting for them to show back up to buy something. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today too. So this is where I need to know what to focus on. We got a lot of time left. I've got 56 pages to cover. I want to cover the pages that are important to you a little deeper and a little more custom. So if you would enter in the chat box, what do you really want to fix when it comes to selling? There we go. Getting people to respond, getting more meetings, starting the sales process, how to not sell on price. Better follow-up, better qualifying, having a standard method. Good. Repeat customers. Terrific. Starting the sales process, all good stuff. All right. We're absolutely on right track. I appreciate that. So just to make it important and to kind of talk about consequence. Have you ever thought about how much revenue your sales challenges cost you? You think they cost you 20% more of what you're doing now? Do you think your business would be double if you could sell better? Do you think it would be 10 times? So I've done pieces of this training hundreds, if not thousands of times. And the next two slides are the ones that make it real. This is where you've got to say, hey, if I had a hole in the roof of my house, would I let it drip? Would I let the water run in? Would we just have showers in the living room? Because sales is the roof of your house. Okay, 20 times better, 600K. Too early to tell in my business. I hope it's a lot and I hope it's enough to be important. And I want it to be important to you. So, how frustrated are you? On a scale of 1 to 10, one's low, no big deal. I can live with it. Not that important. Money's not the golden answer to me. 10 is I got to make it in my business. I got to replace what I used to make. I've got to make more than I'm making now, especially in these times. You know, forever and ever, when I work with salespeople and sales teams, small business owners, hey, I got to make 100 grand a year. I can have a nice life on 100 grand. Well, I hear more and more 150 with $5 gas and 600,000, $400,000 homes. And, you know, the world's changed. All right. I see a lot of tens. I love Christine's 10, 10, 10, 10. That's awesome. Terrific. I'm going to tell you this. If you're a 5 or below, I want you to think about it. I really want you to think about it. So, because if you're not uncomfortable, if it's not bothering you, and if there's not enough money to be worth it, you're probably not going to implement a lot of change, whether it's the things I give you or things that you learn along the way. All right, somebody gave me a 10. I think somebody changed their 5 or their 7 to a 10. That's awesome. So we got to talk about some root problems. Okay, we talked a little bit about what's going on with us that might not be good. We talked about some, sales challenges, some mind trash, some don't know how to sells. Well, I got to share something with you that when it was shared with me a long, long time ago, it really explained a lot of things. Do you know that buyers have an intentional or default system for dealing with salespeople? And that you probably use this system and don't even know you do. And so we're going to spend just a couple of minutes talking about this because we got to change this. Several people, when we talked about the not comfortable selling, said, yeah, salespeople are slimy, don't want to be a salesperson. Hey, we're never going to be like that, right? In our sales training world, we teach you to be people. We teach you to deal with people. We teach you to be professional and consultative. So we're not going to be like that. So we're not going to get treated like salespeople either. We're going to use permission-based selling. We're going to be peer-to-peer in the process. And we're going to have a process. We're not just going to do what we're told as we go through a sales opportunity. So there's a 4-step process that prospects are going to use. This takes an hour to teach. I'm going to give it to you in about 6 minutes because it's crystal clear. The first step, the buyer misleads you about what they want, where they are buying in their buying process, and what's going to happen or what their intentions are. Now, that might sound a little bit gruff, but think about it. How many of you have walked into a retail store to go look for furniture and they say, hey, how can I help you today? And you say, just looking. Now, you've been looking for, a new recliner, a new kitchen set. You've been looking them up online. We don't just say to the salesperson, well, I'm looking for a new dining set. I'd like something in, antique white. I'd like something for 6 to 8 people. we don't just dump it to the salespeople in the first 10 seconds because we're not comfortable. We don't trust them. Why? Because salespeople, they come in superficial and fake. They call it the meet and greet. Oh, hi. They act like their new best friend. They act like, hey, they have something you're going to love. And you've got all the BS and nonsense that, it creates this big cloud. So we're going to talk about how to fix that. The second thing is those buyers need information. They need your price. They need to know your availability. They need to know if it's in stock. They need your unpaid consulting. They need to know, hey, I'm a CPA. I got this letter from the IRS. What should I do? How do you help companies? How do you help people with this? Well, as soon as that CPA says, well, it's not hard, we'll go to the IRS portal, we'll fill out Form 2531B, they'll go try and do that themselves. And that CPA, who probably could take really good care of them for the next 25 years, just lost a new, accounting client. So we know they're looking to get all of your information for free. And typical salespeople, they don't know any better. Their step 2 is to present and to pitch. So that's where you find out we're more than happy to give them the unpaid consulting. So that's no good. Step 3, some of you said, hey, how do I follow up? How do I, keep contact? Well, their step 3 is to stall. Our step 3, if you're a traditional or amateur salesperson, is to follow up. Or if you're uncomfortable, you're not even going to do step 3. You're not going to follow up. You're going to wait. You're going to think if they know what I have, if they like what I offer, they're going to get back to me. So we're in trouble on step 3 on the seller side. But on the buyer side, this is where they're trying to figure out, can they do it themselves? This is where they're trying to figure out, can I get it cheaper elsewhere? And, if you're a landscape designer, if you're a tree removal person, if you're a CPA, you may have given them enough of a plan in the unpaid consulting, if your presentation and your quote, that they can now go to the low price firm and say, hey, can you do this for me at the same price? And they say, sure. And so your work gets somebody else the business. And then step 4, that buyer's going to ghost you. Well, if they don't buy from you, they're going to ghost you, and you have no way to get back. And so a lot of amateur salespeople, they follow up too much and they become a pest. And now that buyer won't come back. They won't come back to your store. They won't come back to your office. They won't take your calls 6 months or a year from now, because you made them too uncomfortable by following up too much. So in a nutshell, that's what they do. Mislead you, take your unpaid consulting, stall, and then hide. So to see if this fits your world, I'd like to ask you, put this in the chat box. If you sell to corporate buyers, this is happening all the time. If you sell business to consumer, this is probably happening all the time. If you're doing e-model, e-commerce model, all the time. So what I'd like you to do is just type into the box, sometimes, often, all the time, or never. And don't worry about it, because we're going to start getting into the fixing part pretty fast. All right, often, all the time, sometimes, all the time. Okay. Somebody put in the box, I've been lucky to get some warm intros, and that's great. I will tell you this, though, that those warm intros and positive prospects, if they don't buy from you, you almost have to do the unpaid consulting if you don't know how to do it later. The whole idea is to do it late in the process to diminish the odds of it happening to you. So, all right, terrific. I think we've got a good effectual response rate, and we know it's real and we know it's happening. So let's get into fixing it. So, solutions part. we're going to do two things. We're going to go deep, and this is something that, you're probably, some of this is going to mean a lot more to others. Some of you need all of this. So when Deborah talks about, hey, we might do some more training in the future, keep your eyes open on your SCORE emails. But we need to build a winning mindset. We need consistent selling activity, and we need to work on our selling style or our sales approach. A couple of you keep putting in the box, don't know how to start. We're going to get you started. So I don't think we need to ask everybody, what do you need to improve and fix? Do you need to improve your mindset? Do you need to prove consistent selling? Or do you need to improve your sales approach? It's probably all. So thank you, Sally. Appreciate that. Okay, so you guys might remember from back in the day on the marketing side, Nike Just Do It made billions of dollars of sales in sneakers and jog suits and all that fun stuff. Selling is the same thing, just do it. And so, Deborah, I'll ask you a question. What's the prognosis for a small business with no computer systems?
What's the prognosis? I would say it's dim.
Okay. What's the prognosis for a small business that doesn't do accounting and doesn't file tax returns?
Well, not filing tax returns is a problem for sure. But
Terrible.
we have quite a few that don't keep accurate records because for the same reason sales, they're not comfortable with the technical aspects of it. So we do a lot
Exactly.
of consulting in that regard.
And the reason I pulled you in is that people don't think sales is a department of their business that can be designed and processed out.
Any of
And
my clients hear me say it 100 times. Marketing is not sales, and sales is not marketing. And what do you do with the prospects and leads once they're in your hand? So you're correct. It is a sales process.
all right, so we're going to build the winning mindset, and couple of things. The number one reason why people are not okay being comfortable is they're not okay with no. You are not going to sell everybody. You are going to get a vast majority of no's as outcomes, or you're going to get prospects who disappear, and those are quiet no's. We all love the yeses. We get excited when we get a new customer. We get somebody to help. We get somebody, we can achieve something for them. We can add value. And you don't have to stop thinking that way. But you've got to get comfortable with no as an option, and that you're going to get more likely to get a no. And so we're going to talk about permission-based selling and having them tell you no. Number one thing is you'll be more comfortable when you put no on the table. And you'll have no more fear of rejection because you'll know that no is coming, and they'll be more comfortable, and they'll be easier with you. When you give them the option, say, it'd be great to work with you, probably could help you with your tree removal. But if it's not a fit, that's okay too. Tell me about your situation. That's a great opener for those of you looking for openers. You own a picture frame shop, flower shop, landscape business, HVAC business. Hey, love to work with you. We're not a fit for everybody, but let's dig into your situation. We want them to go first. And then they'll start telling you, I'm looking for this. This is what's going on. I've got a problem with that. So as soon as we get comfortable with no, you should feel like this huge weight is off your chest. If you need the business, you're not financially independent because you're still investing in your business. You've got to be comfortable with logic. There's more no's than yeses. So reacting to no's in a way that hurts you and hurts your business doesn't make any sense. Just be logical. The second thing that's really important is IR, and that's separating who you are from what you do. Whether you've got a barber shop, a frame shop, you're an accountant, you're an engineer, you're an architect, that's a big part of your personality. but that's not your confidence. That's not your family. So we're going to separate your identity from the roles you do. That's the IR. Thanks for bringing that up. We're also going to break the pattern. We're never going to act like salespeople. So they don't need to treat us like salespeople, play buyer games. We're also going to have a sales process because your mind will be strong if you know, hey, this is the beginning, the middle, and the end, and this is what I got to cover. And I'm going to get some yeses and I'm going to get a whole bunch of no's. And then the last thing on here is it's okay to ask for the business. And so if you can get much more comfortable with those 5 things, things are going to go much better. So we talked about getting okay with no. IR, I want to do a little more with. I don't know if you have a piece of paper. I know everybody's on computers, everybody's got screens, but if we had 230 something participants in a hotel room like we were doing in a hotel ballroom like we did in the old days, and I had 25 tables at 10, you guys would be doing all of this at your tables doing work, and there'd be paper on that table. And I would tell you to draw a picture of a castle. And this is a fun exercise to do later. And in that castle is you, your identity, your confidence, your value as a person. Everything else is outside the castle. Your bookkeeping, your marketing, your office, your sales, those are outside roles. Something goes poorly, you let that into your castle. That's where you pay an emotional price when you get upset. This is how we take the emotion out of business. We take the emotion out of selling. We take the emotion out of managing people. So separate who you are. Sales are slow doesn't make you a bad person. Separate yourself from what you do and then get better at the roles you need to get better at. I bet we've got some golfers on here, and going to bet that some of those golfers are not very good. So the fact that your role in golfing is low, does that make you feel like a bad person? Or do you love to go golfing? I've got a friend that loves to grill and cook. And man, sometimes he is amazing with what he brings off that grill and what he cooks. And every once in a while, it's not so amazing. Doesn't change his value, doesn't change his confidence. Cooking and grilling is just a role. And the beautiful thing about roles, they can be improved on. So you can become a better griller with time. You can become a better golfer. You can become better in sales. And so build yourself a castle, stay in it, don't let anything in, and think about it. The only people that belong in your castle is probably your spouse, significant other, your kids. There's very few people that get keys to that castle. And when you can stay in the castle, you can run a great business. Okay, we're going to break the pattern. And when we break the pattern, we don't act like salespeople. We don't talk too much. You know, a program like this is where I get all my talking in for the week. When I'm on sales calls, I don't talk. Kind of funny. Okay with no. Salespeople, if I show you this, can you buy it today? If you like our price, are we going to get the business? They're not okay with no. What would it take to get you to do business with us? We're not going to do any of that. Peer to peer, can you get me a quote for tomorrow? Well, what if you're planning to be with your family tomorrow? Are you going to stay till 10 o'clock tonight and finish your proposal and send it over? And then you send it to them and they don't even read it and they don't answer your call? We peer to peer, we're going to ask them, okay, if we were to do that, what would you want to see in it? What would you do? What's going to happen next? When did you want to talk about what I send over? Do you really need it tomorrow? Would there be any way I could send it to you Tuesday? That's what peer-to-peer is. And then permission-based selling means, hey, based on what you've heard so far, would you like to keep talking about this? Or would you like to stop the process? And I'll get into that a little bit more. But it's okay to stop and get a no early. Okay. This slide's a doozy. This slide is a doozy. This is sales process. And this is a whole day boot camp. This is a 3-month hourly program. But I'm going to give it to you up front because I want you to see what selling could look like for you as a process. When you meet a prospect, you get them on the phone, and just so you know, 70%, I got this stat from HubSpot yesterday. HubSpot is one of the most noted digital marketing organizations in the world. 70% of lead generation converts to the phone on the first touch. So don't try and sell on email. So set expectations. All that means is, hi, nice to meet you. Looking forward to helping you. Maybe, I think we can have something for you, but maybe we can't. Let's figure it out and have a good talk. We got set an expectation. We put okay with no. Now we're going to qualify with questions. Tell me about your situation. Tell me what's important to you. What were you looking to accomplish? How big is this? How important is this? When you do that, you will talk 25% of the time. These are one-liner questions, and some of these folks will tell you everything you need to know they're going to be a customer or they're not. We want to understand their situation. We want to discuss their budget and their price. We can't give them the price at the end. We need to know now that if they're just looking for the lowest price, it's probably not that important. So is that okay? I don't care if you're selling garage doors. I don't care if you're selling landscaping services, CPA services. They're going to tie their budget to the value perceived. And that's why we have to understand their situation and how important it is, and then talk about price. The super low ballers, that's your choice. If you want to sell them or not, you might have some capacity and you can sell them. Otherwise, you probably want to stop right there. We're also going to ask about the decision process. When are they buying? Is this sooner, later, down the road? Next couple of days, next couple of weeks? Who else is involved? Who else are you talking to? Where are you in your process? When you ask questions like that, they'll probably tell you. So there's no bullet between decision and asking for the business, but that's where you're going to present. They get a presentation, they get a quote. I'm going to take that question. What was the question starter for what's your decision process? Hey, can you walk me through where you are in this project? If it's landscape design, if you're trying to sell CPA services, could you walk me through kind of where you are in selecting a new CPA? Have you just started? Have you talked to other CPAs? Are you leaning towards staying with your current CPA? So Martha, great question. Somebody asked about the 70% stat. 70% of leads convert to the phone for selling on step 2. I get the lead, call them on the phone. That comes from HubSpot, one of the world leaders in digital marketing and digital marketing strategy. Okay. And then after, we're going to ask for the business. Are you ready to get started? That's as scary close as I ever want you to use. So some of you think about that. If you can't ask for the business, if this is new to you, you've got a $500 picture frame laid out on the counter. You are a CPA, engineer, architect. After you've had the talk, you just say, are you ready to get started? And if you need to, you could say, are you ready to get started? Or do you think not? But that kind of comfortable asking for the business will get you a lot of that business because they're going to be comfortable giving you an answer. And then the last bullet, asking for referrals, introductions, and testimonials. We're going to cover that under activity. So that's a good one. Number 2 way to fix the broken system, the broken marketing and selling system. Outbound calls. So we get a lot of small businesses doing e-commerce, and at some point or another, they do the quote, they figure out what the person needs. Maybe they're even doing that all on email. But at some point in time, the customer calls and says, hey, is the order shipped yet? Or I got the confirmation, can I still add something onto it? You should be capturing a phone number, and we should be able to make outbound calls. We're going to cover some different types of outbound calls in a minute, but we should be able to call new cold targets. If we can't, we should be calling warm ones. Association members, past customers, current accounts that haven't reordered in a while. But we got to make outbound calls. We've got to ask for referrals. Networking is still a vital way to manage your business and grow your leads, and regular customer calls. So I want to give you an example for some of you who are not comfortable or not good on the phone. We're going to break the pattern. We're not going to talk like salespeople. We hate it when people call us, whether it's a real person or a robocall, and they just start spewing a message. So the first thing we're going to say, whether it's a cold call, warm call, past customer, trade show lead, networking lead. Hey, it's John Paul. I picked a Medicare benefits company. And this is an example where when we talked about the best way to grow their business, they said, gee, CPAs could refer a lot of business. If I could just get a lot of CPAs referring. And so part of our growth strategy is, well, why don't you try and talk to every small business CPA in Rhode Island and Southeastern Mass? And we'll break that into, how many a month, how many a week, and let's figure out how long it would take to call them all. If you had a call you were comfortable making, would you call them all? And they said yes. So this is pretty much the call we built. Hi, it's John Palumbo from Easy Medicare Options. I know it's probably a bad time, but can I tell you why I called? Some of you are shaking your heads going, that doesn't sound good. The psychological reason is we're going to identify that we're interrupting. So it's John Palumbo from Easy Medicare Options. I know it's probably a bad time, but can I tell you why I called? When you acknowledge that they're busy, you're interrupting. They don't really know you or have a reason to talk to you or owe you a second. There's a genuine authenticity piece of, I know it's probably a bad time, but can I tell you why I called? So they'll either give you the courtesy, I got a minute, John, what can I do for you? Or they'll give you a minute to get rid of you. They'll figure out what you want, say no thanks, and hang up the phone and be nicer about it. So I specialize in enrolling first-time Medicare clients who are turning 65 and coming off their plans, their employer plans. It's often very confusing to them. And the employer HR department usually doesn't know how or doesn't want to guide them at all. And I just want to see if we could talk about, referring your clients. Are you open to that? Simple call. We call it the two-problem call. They're confused because they're turning 65 and they know they have to make that transition. And you're reminding the CPA that the employer is not going to help them because they've heard that before. They've heard that before. And then when you say, I'm hoping we could talk to you about referring clients, that CPA is going to make a decision. Do I like how this call has gone so far? Would I talk to this person some more? And is this worth talking about? And they had a very high contact rate, a very high second meeting rate, because what happens from here? It's sure. And now you can say, would you like to invite me in for 15 or 20 minutes and we could talk about it? Would you like to have another call? How would you like to do it? Permission-based selling. So there's an example on that one. Referrals. We've got to be asking for referrals all the time. And so here's a couple of examples. Current customers. Who else can you refer? I know past customers, vendors, contacts, neighbors. So here's a tree trimming and removal company. This was a client who, was very, very uncomfortable. He spent his whole life chopping down trees. And this is actually pretty recent, about a year ago. And he said, I should be doing double or triple what I'm doing now. And he was doing well. He goes, I'm just not good with people. I'm not good talking with people. And I need a more comfortable approach. And I said, well, let's build something that makes sense to you then. And then he tells me this story that he ran into an old friend at the post office and, had 10 seconds of how are you doing? How are you doing? How's life? How's things? And I said, just look, wrap in. I'm just really busy with the tree removal business. And, all these storms, things like that, people either, they have stuff, they need somebody to call them back, answer the phone, show up now. Or, they're seeing people having trees drop on their house and they need us that day, or they want us to come out and make sure that doesn't happen to them. And so you may or may not get a referral from that, but everybody you talk to knows you answer the phone, you do work now, you can come out and prevent a tree from falling on a house. Or if the tree falls on the house and I need somebody out there now, that you're in that business. And so he had tremendous success with that. And so you'll see a similarity that everything has two problems. And that's how we keep it simple. I specialize in, here's a guy networking. So you go to a networking event, there's 100 people there. And if you say, hey, I sell Medicare insurance, everybody who's not interested in Medicare, their eyes glass over and they want to go look to talk to somebody else. But if you say, look, I specialize with Medicare clients, they turn 65 and it's very confusing. And believe it or not, employers are not good at helping them with that. So if you know anybody in that age range, or if you know anyone at HR at a company, love to talk to them. Well, now you have something to talk to. You absolutely have, there's a purpose. You're not talking about the weather. You're not saying, oh, I like your sport coat. Oh, I like your shoes. You're not talking about the Patriots game. You got to nail down those two things. And you'll see how we get there in a minute. So customer calls. So some of you are not calling your customers enough because you don't want to bother them. We have this assumption that they bought from us, they'll buy from us again. And we have to stay top of mind, especially if they give this task to someone in their office who's going to go on their phone or go on their computer and do an SEO lookup. So here's a caterer. They noticed a lot of their events people were not calling them. So they just started calling up. Now here's a great no pressure call that some of you could adopt to your business. Hi, Joy, it's John from Creative Caterers. How are you? Good, good, good. Well, I'm guessing you don't have any upcoming events. See how we put no on the table in the opening line? There's no pressure on Joy. No, John, don't have anything going on. We've been doing a lot of other types of things on site, so there's been no catering. But I hope they, always keep you in mind. You say, terrific. Just remember, when other caterers say no to the day, the time, the location, we say yes. Because we find that is what's called a predictive pain that we'll be getting into in a few minutes. When you call around the caterer, the first thing they want to get into is that day's booked, that location's booked. And so when you run a catering company and you have the ability to pull teams together, it really works. So what that does is you have people remembering, yep, we use you, whether we've used you or not. What's funny is when you're calling customers, what you'll often hear is, matter of fact, we've got something coming up. I was going to, you're on my list to get to. Or they just appreciate the checkpoint call. So now time to get into the number 3 part of selling style of fixing the broken in marketing situation. How you sell matters. This is your sales approach, your strategy. So predictive pain points. You probably could tell in your business that your customers and prospects all have the same 3 to 8 problems. How good's your 30-second commercial? Do you use your 30-second commercial on the phone? Do you use your 30-second commercial at trade shows, networking? Is it tight and does it address the pains, the problems that you fix? We have to have a structured sales process. I gave it to you very quickly. Beginning, middle, and end. Okay with no. And then next steps. So bullet 4, we got to keep deals moving. We move them towards yes, we move them towards no. And that's the key to sales strategy and a sales approach. So breaking those up, predictive pain points. In every business, you're going to see that a lot of the predictive pains around service, quality, responsiveness, and product or service availability. Whether you make machine parts, whether you are a caterer, whether you're a tree company, whether you're a CPA, the reason why they are looking for a new vendor or why they are open to a new vendor is going to fall somewhere around this bucket. And I'm going to give you some specific examples on the next slide. So there's got to be a gap between what they have now and what they want to have. So I hear this one a lot in landscape design under quality. When we get a new prospect or a new customer, they don't feel like they're getting the value for the price paid on the design for their landscaping projects. So what that means is that they got the plan, and the price is through the roof. It's $28,000 for the backyard landscaping plan, and it doesn't look like $28,000. You want it to look like $50,000. Also under the quality issue, we work with a lot of small manufacturers. First time quality approval is a big deal. If you have a 97% acceptance rates on parts, there's no substitutions. There's nothing missing. The parts don't need refinishing. The parts fit. Apply that to whatever business you're in. There's quality pains. Responsiveness. Certainly in the last 5 years, responsiveness has become an issue. We live in a society where everybody wants everything now. And some of you might be thinking, gee, I have a responsiveness issue. My customers don't think I get back to you fast enough. But if you're getting back to your people faster than the competition is getting back to their people or new people, you're still winning. But we hear all the time, you were the only company that answered the phone or called me back the same day. Well, if you're selling $50,000 in-ground pools, if you're selling hot tubs, if you're selling windows, if you're selling HVAC systems, a lot of those folks have been very busy for a very long time. But the company, are you willing to stay on a waiting list if they call you back the same day and they engage with you right away and you say, gee, our next available is October? Well, that's probably the best engagement you've had with anybody. You're much more likely to wait because responsiveness was better. That just happened to me recently with a fence company. I called 5 fence companies. Only one of them called me back. It was pretty easy to give them the business. Okay, product, service, and availability. We already kind of covered that one. So let's talk about the 30-second commercial underselling style, the next piece. We need a comfortable, repeatable statement that addresses 2 pains. That's where we need to be. So I'm John Palumbo, CPA. I specialize in making sure my clients don't pay more taxes than they ever should, and they minimize the chance of audits to almost 0. So some of you, you're all business owners. I'm not sure if you answer the phone or not, but if that call came in, if there was a CPA, let's say in a chamber of commerce, and they're looking for more business, and they called you, and it was a warm call and say, hey, we're fellow members in the, Connecticut Central Chamber of Commerce. We haven't met yet. Caught you at a bad time, but can I tell you why I called? They might say, sure, because of the chamber and the warmth. And you go, well, I'm John Palumbo, CPA. I specialize in making sure my clients don't pay more taxes than they ever should. And I minimize the chance of audits to almost zero. Is that something you'd like to talk to me about? Permission-based selling. So that would be a phone call. But you could use this as a trade show. You could use this at networking. And it's very specific. Somebody could say, not really. I've been with my CPA for 26 years. I'll never change. I hope he's doing the same as you, but we've been friends so long, I'll never change. And you get a warm, comfortable no right away. A lot of other people are going to go, sure, I'd like to talk to you because you can fix pain. So I'll be honest, I've done a lot of work with PASBA, Professional Association of Small Business Accountants, and we've done a lot of work on business, on sales for those types of professionals because they're not comfortable selling. They're experts at something else. And that's another example for a lot of you folks. You guys are experts at something else. And so when I look at accountants and engineers and some of those other folks, we've got to teach them stuff they're comfortable with, they believe is straightforward, and they believe is going to work. And so we don't get into any of that other stuff. So we talked about structured sales process a few slides ago. Here it is again, simple. Some of you might want to screenshot this and keep it, put it on a sticky by your phone. You just need to have this process to set expectations, learn their situation, talk about money, talk about how they're going to give you a decision. Because when they tell you about their decision process, that's going to spell out all the answers for follow-up and next steps. Yep. At that point, we can give them a presentation and a quote if we think that they're legit and they're not going to ghost us because they've told us they agreed to a next step. And we know that they're going to be making decisions sooner or later down the road. And we're going to ask for the business. We're not going to get wimpy and hope that, hey, I've put a lot of quotes out there. I hope some of them come in. Call them up on the phone and say, hey, Jim, I gave you a quote about a week ago. I'm not sure if you're ready to give us the business or if you decided to not go with us. So it's good either way. Please let me know. Well, when you put no on the table, they'll tell you, nope, John, we decided to go in another direction. Thank you very much, but it's a no. And they feel good and you feel good. So getting deals moving. A lot of you guys get your quotes on the table, don't know how to get started. So let's dig into things. Let's learn your situation. If I can help you, we'll keep moving forward. If I can't, or if you don't like what I show you, we should stop. That's a great way to get things started. Some of you, are you ready to give me a no? That's a little direct. So don't use that. But say, hey, send over my presentation. Do you think you'd like to get started? Or do you think it's not going to be, you're not going to be with us this time? Many times you need a next step. They don't know what their budget is. Say, okay, well, would you like to wait a day or two and we could talk again and see what the budget is? Sure, that's a good idea. Or, hey, I'm going to send that proposal over. Would it be okay to set a next step if I sent it over today? Today's Thursday. Did you want to go over it tomorrow or did you want to go over it with me next week? And you set a next step. So we're doing really good here with fixing problems, the three big challenges, and there are some rules to the road because one of the reasons why we do long-term sales training is the incremental progress. And so we got to have the right mindset, which is the attitude towards business and selling. We've got to have the right activity. We've got to have the right approach. And we got to believe in incremental improvement. Well, you don't get better overnight. There's no magic wand. And so these 7 rules of the road are going to help you um, stay on track towards that incremental growth. So I've got a few comments in the chat box that I really appreciate you guys putting in. Somebody just called me out completely and said I would never be comfortable talking like that. So I'd like to ask you, is the IR part of it? It's not you. It's a process. And I don't want you to sound like me. I want you to sound like you, but I want you to put no on the table. I want you to ask people what their situation is. I want you to tell people what the 2 problems you solve are. I want you to be able to talk about money comfortably. Somebody else said direct calls are rude. I'm a little old school. Well, that's somebody's personal belief. Again, IR, stay in the castle. It's not rude. It's just a process. So as we jump into the 7 rules, follow the sales process is number 1. You can't learn sales process from me today unless you already have a sales process and you're looking to improve it. And then you can look at my steps and my categories and try and add that to yours or work on that. If you're newer to selling and you look at this, it makes sense. Set expectations that, hey, let's talk, let's ask questions, let's learn about each other's situation. Let's talk about your budget. Let's talk about your timeline and your decision process. At that point, you should feel a lot better about giving them a quote, and you should know so much more that it'd be easier for you to set next steps and know what appropriate follow-up is or isn't. We've got to ask for the business. We can't hope they give us the business or get back to us. And then do yourself some justice. Get a yes or a no. You do 10 quotes a month, get yourself 4 yeses and 6 nos and just feel good about it. Number 2 is it's not personal. No is okay. And yeah, in small business, that's hard to do. It's hard to think that way. I am my business. Everything counts. Everything's up to me. I've heard that for 25 years. I've felt that way myself. But you got to believe in number 2. It's not personal. No is okay. My identity's not affected by my roles. Outside people should not have the power to upset me. You know you're going to get more no's than yeses. It's not you that they're buying. And just so you know, 70% of people who ask for quotes on things don't buy anything from anybody. That study's been done over and over again by The Economist, Harvard Business Review. And think about it, corporate buyers are a big part of that because they got to have 3 quotes. So 67% have no chance at the business. And then think of consumer buying. How many things do we go get a quote or a brochure or something for that we're a little bit interested in, but really have no intention of buying now? So we can't worry about it. Number 3, we are going to break the pattern. We're going to get better at selling. We're not going to sound like a slimy salesperson. We're going to put no on the table. We're only going to talk 20% of the time. We're going to ask a ton of questions. The people and prospects that answer your questions, by the way, they're the real ones. The ones that avoid you, don't want to give you information, play games, they're not going to buy from you. Over a 10-year window, you'll find that you sell less than 1% of those people. Truly be okay with no. It'll make you a better consultant. And then set next steps or close the file. If they won't give you a next step, you got to know. Okay, I sent you that quote. If you'd like to go over it next couple of days, next week, I'll get back to you if I'm interested. Okay, I appreciate you sharing that with me. Usually that means it's a no. If you'd like to take a few minutes and go over it, there might be something I can help you with. Otherwise, that's fine. If you need something, let me know. And you close the file. Number 4, know the value of time, your expertise, and it is more than okay to not be the lowest. Your time is worth a lot. When you're doing quotes that don't close, that time could be spent in your business. Time could be spent looking for new business. or that time could be sent for you. If your closing rate is not 50%, you're quoting too much. That's a tough habit to break, especially if you were never taught how to qualify first. And in e-commerce, it's very difficult because sometimes you even have auto quote functions and you have to find a way to do better. But your time is your biggest asset. Your energy is your second biggest asset. And your money, of course, is critically important. So don't give it away with unpaid consulting. And it's okay to not be the lowest. When you know the predictive pains and you set up your company and yourself as the solution or preventer of those pains, that's what you pay more for. I remember at the frame shop, $1 million frame shop, they started at $100,000. They would talk to people about, what do you want us to work on? And you're talking about wedding pictures and great grandma Tilly and a picture of your favorite dog. Does it need to come out right? Does it need to be special? How important is this? That's what makes them go from spending $25 to spending $55. And that's true in every single business. So continual improvement. A lot of you should go back to that slide when you get it, work on your 30-second commercial. What two pains do you solve? Don't tell people you do replacement windows. Don't tell people you're in the roofing business. Don't tell people you're in insurance, because they tune out as soon as you do that. Make more calls to get better on the phone. The more calls you make, the more comfortable you get. By the way, the hardest call you ever make is the first one, and the first one of every day. So here's a little trick we do in sales training. Make that first call. Tell yourself you're going to mess it up. You're going to be clumsy, nervous, and awkward, and you're going to get a quick, friendly no. And then work on the second call, because you just got to do it. Use sales process enough till it's natural for you. Tell me all about your situation. Love to help you if we can. If we can't, that's okay. Tell me about your budget. Tell me about your decision process. Okay, hey, based on that, I'd like to show you what we can do. And when I show you what we can do, love if you could tell me you're ready to get started. And it's okay to give me a no also. Read your sales blogs, lots of good ones out there, vlogs on video. Listen to sales coaching podcasts. Use this time all the time. Prospecting's a habit. Some of you, it's going to be very tough, but try and call a customer every day. They haven't bought from you in a month. They haven't bought from you in 6 months. They haven't bought from you a year. They haven't bought from you in 2 years. It's okay. Call a new prospect every day. I know one of the biggest hurdles is getting started. One a day is usually enough. If you talk to one new qualified business, one new qualified prospect, it would probably be enough. Plus, once you get it started, it'll snowball. You'll get comfortable doing more. I dropped a little selling into LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. Put your pains you fix in those posts and ask them to DM you with questions. You'll get leads. Those are free. 2 to 6 networking events per month, depending what business you're in. I have people in e-commerce going to networking events, doing more business at the networking events, and then they find out, wow, that was so great. I'm going to go to a trade show. And so I had 2 businesses last month. They went to a mini trade show and they just blew it away. One was a soap, candle, and lotions company, and they sell everything online, over $1 million online. They go to this trade show because somebody asked them to. They did like $30,000 in 2 days. Sometimes you got to just change your model. DM is direct message on LinkedIn. I know it's got different names and other things. Thank you. Great question. Ask everyone you talk to for a referral. So this might be out of your comfort zone. I did this yesterday. I had coffee with a client, helping them work on a big sales meeting next week. And I saw somebody in the coffee line who I had been in one of my training programs years ago. Didn't really know him well, looked familiar. He's in the trades. And I just bumped into him and said, hey, I couldn't remember his name. I said, hey, He said, "It's me, George." I said, "Hey, George, John Palumbo, how you doing?" He goes, "Good, how's things?" I go, "George, what are you up to?" He took 2 seconds to say, "Oh, I'm still in the blah, blah, blah business." And then I gave him my 30-second commercial for my training program and training school. And he said, "Wow, I'm not sure we need that." And I said, "Well, George, the key to is you can refer people. You're in the trades. You can refer anybody in the trades to me, plumbers, electricians, framers, roofers." I said, "So, all you got to do is keep in mind when people tell you business is slow, John Palumbo. When people tell you they just got a new sales job, John Palumbo. Ask everyone you talk to for a referral." Number 7, be yourself and have fun. Absolutely. Don't be a salesperson, be a consultant, be professional, and you're going to do great. So, want to get some takeaways? This is probably the best part of the program for me. If you could take 4 seconds and think about, what did we talk about today? What got you thinking today? And if there's anything that's definitely going to help you, if you could drop that into the chat box, before I turn things back over to Deborah Panullo and SCORE, I just like to see a few of the takeaways, if you don't mind. Okay, love rule number 6. Absolutely. Prospecting's a habit. Ask for referrals. Okay, thinking about pain points, getting some ideas. Okay, email old clients. Only talk 25%. Take the no and keep going. Awesome. Those are great takeaways. All right, super. Hey, I want to mention before I sign off, my name is John Palumbo, P-O-L. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm going to pass it back to Deborah. Thanks again for the opportunity to work with you. You guys were great. Really appreciate interaction. And Deborah, I appreciate the chance to work with your SCORE community and with SCORE. And so I'm going to wrap up. Really appreciate everybody. Thank you very much. And Deborah, it's all yours.
Thank you, John. I can only say that there's so much information here, and it is tough and you were kind enough to give us 90 minutes, which I think is very generous. But there is a lot of things that we could all follow up on, and you gave us some tools that we could start doing today. I think you've hit on a lot of what I hear from clients. They don't want to make the phone calls. They don't want to ask for the order. So I think you've touched on a lot of the things that we hear as mentors. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming. And I want to remind you that if you go to ri.score.org, you'll be able to take advantage of all of the resources that SCORE has to offer, including a one-on-one mentor. John said that sales is a process, and it is, and it should be a strategy that you work with your mentor on so that you can have goals, strategies, and tactics, just like you would for finance, product development, or anything else. So, John, thank you very much. We definitely want to end on time. We still see some great messages coming through. And this is, people are saying that they really enjoyed your presentation, and I appreciate it. So thank you everyone for attending, and please look forward to items that are coming up in the field. Not only, we're going to be having a human resource getting started seminar in June, and please keep looking for free seminars and training that are made available to you. And thank you, everyone. Someone said he raised his hand. I don't, what, can you put it in the chat box? The gentleman who just said who raised his hand? Thank you very much. Okay, they're all saying it was a very good presentation, and thank you. All right, we're going to sign off now. And again, ri.score.org, should you need additional information or you'd like to participate with a mentor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Be well.
Thank you, John. Judy, can you close us out?